Hello. So today I want to talk about when you don't feel understood. I'm sure many of you have probably been there. I certainly know what it feels like to feel misunderstood or misinterpreted, and feeling that frustration of trying to make yourself understood. And in my work, I've actually had lots of people come to me saying they don't feel understood. And when you don't feel understood, you need to realize that there are multiple things happening. Okay. So for one, you might not be hearing yourself clearly enough. Okay. And that leads to, how should I say, that leads to behaviors where others don't hear you either. So when we hear ourselves clearly, we don't need to defend our point. We don't need to explain ourselves, because we can stand solidly in that truth of our own knowing. And because we really hear our own values, which are like the bottom line from where we speak. So that's one thing, not hearing yourself enough. It can also happen that we dismiss ourselves. And that is also because we don't hear ourselves enough. And I'm also familiar with this. It can be a really subtle level. Like we have an intuition and we know it, but we skip over that knowing. And we behave in a way that isn't actually in alignment with that knowing. And that is also not hearing ourselves. But there's another whole side to this not being heard, which is that sometimes simply, people don't hear you. They just don't have the capacity to hear you. And that is because they are coming from a completely different worldview and they are speaking a different language, okay? And that's okay. We don't need to be heard and seen by every person. In fact, as Brené Brown says, if you have a handful of people that truly see and hear you, you're lucky. So in that dynamic where we're trying to be heard, trying to be understood, and somebody else isn't getting it, we need to discern, because there are two parts to this. And one part is the person in front of us might simply not be able to understand us. Yeah. And there's the part in us that is kind of pulling to be understood. So there's a sort of an energetic that's going out that so desperately wants to be understood that we kind of explain ourselves and we put too much effort in it, and we literally lean forward much too far. And when that is happening, it's really important to become aware of this part in you that wants to be understood, that needs to be heard. We all have that part, and I'm by no means saying that is a place that should be dismissed or we need to, push it down, ignore it. No, but what we do need to do is be aware of how it's playing out, because essentially that is a younger place within us, a younger place in my body or in your body that usually was desperately trying to be understood as a child. Okay. And you might connect it to a younger feeling or a sense of desperation, and which is can be coupled with a sort of panic and an urgency around making yourself understood. And as I said, it's a kind of pulling sensation. So my tip for anybody who's watching who wants to be understood, when you notice that sensation in you, or you notice that place that is literally needing to be understood, step back and listen to yourself. Listen to what's going on inside of you, and listen to what you need to hear within yourself. Because when our communication comes from that place of being anchored in ourselves in a solid way, we don't need to lean forward like that. We can just stay centered and communicate from that place. So essentially, what's really important to understand is that there are people, and there will be people, that do not understand you. And that has nothing to do with you. Yeah. That is normal. And although we speak the same language, metaphorically speaking, we don't. On a metaphorical level, we're often communicating from a very different place. And it's like speaking a different language. And if you, for example, are perhaps a bit more cognitive, and somebody is more emotional and they're not understanding you, it might invoke emotions in them. They might start having emotions because they can't understand you. Okay, so it's really important just to step back and realize, who are the people around you who speak the same language as you do? Who are the people that hear you and see you? And where your communication is effortless, where you intuitively you say something and you don't even have to explain it because people get it. That's all for today. My name is Cordelia, and I help people use their voice as a catalyst to become more embodied. So if you're interested in that, go and check me out on this channel, or go to my website, youandyourvoice.com. I'd love to hear from you. Bye.